righty. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode of 2 of Clan and K's Coffee Corner. Um, I did not know the beat dropped like that. I've never been that long into it. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of getting down to that. It does. It drops kind of nicely. Anyways, it's been quite a week in the world of crypto. I mean, like not even just Lunk alone, but it's been a lot of things have happened this last week in all of the crypto sphere. It's kind of crazy. Um, so Line up of the show, we'll go through the relevant news that Kay and I picked out for you throughout the week. We'll discuss the plethora of happenings that we all saw unfold on Twitter and across every other social platform, dealing with Lunk. And then we're going to jump into Redline Drifter's prop. I'm sure or hope that all of you have read it. I've read it a few times. Super excited to see what he might have to say about that, and answer any questions that any of y'all have. I put out a tweet yesterday to kind of pull questions from the community for Redline and his proposal. I didn't really get any, so I'm just going to attribute that, Redline, to you putting together a really good, digestible, and understandable proposition for the community, since there weren't really any questions. But yeah, so let's just get going right into the news. K-Rock's Redline, unless you guys want to say hi to our listeners here.
Good morning. I hope you grabbed coffee.
Yeah. I got coffee. You got coffee, Redline?
I have coffee. Yeah, I just made it.
Okay. We're going to start making it to where you either have to send a picture of the coffee you're drinking in the comments, or you're going to get kicked. You got to have coffee. We're hanging out. We're drinking coffee. We're talking about Lunk. All right. Excuse me. So yeah, just going over some of the news that happened from this week in crypto. An interesting development from the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, for you guys that might not be aware of this organization. I don't remember where they're based out of, but they kind of work with countries' interoperability, financially, setting up their banks. Honestly, I don't like them. They're part of that's my opinion from what I've seen. They're part of the establishment, that is definitely trying to retain power within the world. So IMF to publish a CBDC handbook in response to increasing demand for guidance, increasing demand coming from different countries, as we see multiple different countries roll out and test their CBDC platforms and currencies. CBDC is a central bank digital currency. So that's essentially the digitization of fiat currencies in an attempt to keep up with the times and technology, while, in my opinion, also combating, cryptocurrencies and the risks that poses to the powers that be. Because if you control the money, you control the people. So with interest in central bank digital currencies, at an unprecedented level, the International Monetary Fund is experiencing heavy demand for guidance in regard to them. In response, the IMF planned to release a CBDC handbook, Deputy Manager Director Bo Lee said in a recent speech. He also stated that we believe CBDC capacity development is essential to avoid a digital divide. In my opinion, he's referencing the divide of different countries' currency and then also cryptocurrency. He said that this handbook should be rolled out in the next 4 to 5 years. So that's just something to keep your eye on, and stay informed about what's going on worldwide when it comes to cryptocurrencies and regulations and what have you. K-Rocks, feel free to chime in at any time if you wish. If not, I'm just going to keep rolling through the news.
Yeah, you can keep going.
I'm drinking a Colombian blend this morning for anyone. So, a little medium roast. Okay, so moving on. And this was crazy to see. I didn't ever expect this to develop with everything that's gone on, but apparently FTX has recovered $7.3 billion in assets according to things they said in the court hearings and what have you. And they plan on relaunching their exchange, which is just nuts. That's I I don't see how that could be really a thing that comes to fruition long term. But it seems those of us in crypto have short memory spans when it comes to such things. So, and when they released the announcement, I guess you could call it, about potentially releasing a V2 of the FTX exchange, their exchange token, FTT, surged from $1.32 to $2.80. So there's definitely some FOMO going on there, and degens being degens, hoping for a moonshot on something where people lost a lot of money. And honestly, in my opinion, if they've recovered these funds, they need to make their holders and their users whole again before utilizing those funds to relaunch an exchange. And it's interesting where how and where that goes, with SBF still being under investigation for the fall of FTX and I guess you could call it embezzlement, outright theft of funds. Okay. So moving on, there was a lot of big things going on with Ethereum this week with their Shanghai, or they renamed it the Chapella upgrade. So that actually went well. There was no issues with the upgrade. The upgrade on the chain went fine. When the upgrade first happened, we saw a net influx of deposits onto their staking platform. But that actually kind of tapered off over the next day or so after the upgrade was completed. And we're actually starting to see a net withdrawal of the rewards accumulated through staking Ethereum. So it was activated on April 12th, and the total withdrawals in the first 40 hours following stood 142 with some change Ether. And we saw a nice little pump from ETH when it, the FUD campaign narrative that ETH was going to drop because of all the unstaking, and kind of the misinformation about all of it becoming available immediately, because there is a ceiling or a limit to the amount of ETH that their validators and stakers are able to withdraw on a day-to-day. And it's also staggered to where only certain validators are allowed to withdraw given a period of time moving forward. I think it's like every day. So at the time of writing of the article, we're getting information, 70% of validators have changed to the needed code structure to be able to withdraw the rewards. The net ETH value at the time was about $850 million set to withdraw, so that could bring some downward pressure on Ethereum, especially how that and Bitcoin has been ripping. And it's interesting to see how that will play out, with Bitcoin ripping since the beginning of the year and Ethereum following suit. So we'll see how that plays out. Another interesting thing about Ethereum that popped up, I think this was yesterday that this came out, or maybe the day before, but an Ethereum researcher from the Ethereum Foundation stated that there are certain privacy concerns with their staking platform and how they're capable of gathering people's IP addresses. And that's just something to be aware of when you're interacting, with different chains and what have you. Not much more to say about that,
I do have something to say about that. Is that when using these types of platforms, it would be good to have like scam protection. So like a Linux system, have it set up a VPN, and then also use a hard wallet ledger for that. To reduce the amount of data mining on that, and your metadata is protected.
No, I completely agree with that. And it is my suggestion, though it's not financial advice, that when you're interacting on the internet, just about even just day-to-day use, it's always a good idea to use a VPN to add that extra layer of protection and privacy for yourself as an individual. So How many times have we seen the word hack this week? Hack, rug, exploit. Sheesh. It did not just happen inside of Lunk. We saw it happen kind of everywhere. It happened multiple times this week. I got 2 articles. I think there was other reports of it happening to different platforms. I guess hackers are they're just out in force this week. But the crypto exchange ep2 suffered a $23 million hack, and they due to their hot wallet exploit. So they shut down withdrawals. The firm expects to reopen withdrawals on April 18th after conducting additional security checks. So they were able to address the matter quickly. It allowed them to prevent the further draining of funds. And that's just one of the things, listeners, that goes into the importance of self-custodial holding. If you're looking to do a long hold, then it's always safer, though not entirely safe, to keep your coins in some type of self-custodial wallet. If that's a hot wallet, if that's cold storage, that's up to you as an individual. But an exchange is only as safe as their, security measures are. And I trust myself with holding my coins on my own wallet that isn't going to be targeted directly to an exploit, instead of essentially trusting, just one entity and my trust in them to do things correctly with how they operate on a day-to-day. So yeah, and the coins that were affected in the hack were Ethereum, Shiba Inu, Quant, Gala, Holo, and Polygon. So if you guys use ep2, then hopefully you weren't affected by the hack, and if you were, hopefully they figure out and get you your equity back. Another thing was MetaMask third party. So MetaMask saw a hack. Luckily, this one wasn't financial, but apparently hackers were able to gain people's private information through some type of security flaw that was exploited through their customer support ticket system. This happened, and so anyone who issued a customer support ticket from August 1st of 21 to February 10th of 2023 could be affected by the exploit. And if you put any of your personal information in that support ticket, your email address, that's, the exploiters could have access to that information now. So if you are one of those people, I very well could be, I don't recall, but just be aware that your personal information was compromised and to watch out for any phishing attempts through your email or elsewhere on the internet. And don't fall victim to those. You should never be giving out your seed phrase or your private key or anything like that. So just be careful out there. We all want to stay safe when we're trying to interact on chain. Last 2 articles I have is more about regulation and where we're moving forward. Obviously, the SEC, our best friend in crypto. I know we all love them. Applause for Gary Gensler. So they are currently attempting to redefine the definition of exchange. And they're doing this to try and include decentralized exchanges under their regulatory scrutiny, which, in my opinion, and I'm sure everyone else's opinion, is a gross overreach of their jurisdiction and power, not only because most decentralized exchanges probably don't operate out of the U.S., or, though they may offer their services in the U.S., but without the regulatory guidance or the foundation for the SEC to dictate what is and what is not a security, and if it even falls under their domain, with that not even being set up yet, for them to be taking further steps to gather and control more aspects of the crypto sphere is concerning, and that's quite obvious. And luckily, from what I've seen, circulating the news feeds, it seems American lawmakers are starting to wake up to Gary Gensler and his war on crypto, and at least some of them are speaking out and taking steps against it. So everyone just, especially with your own jurisdiction, it's good to stay up to date on where regulation is going. But because sadly, America has its hands in everyone's pockets, as well as, America being an industrial powerhouse, an economic powerhouse worldwide. It's always good to keep up to date with what's happening over here and how that can affect the crypto market, and industry as a whole, as we continue to shun and push innovation offshore and into other countries. And then the last article I has, and this just goes into the SEC and their overreach and their just intense attempt to control everything. But they issued a summons for Tron's Justin Sun. They did that earlier this week. Tron is the TRX token. So if you're invested in Tron or TRX, or you just love eating up all this juicy crypto news week to week, that's definitely something else to keep an eye on. And we're definitely seeing an uptick of this with the SEC's attempt to just enforce, regulate through enforcement, with their Wells notice to Coinbase, with their lawsuit on Kraken, and getting them to shut their staking service down. Now this, and I guess it's generally accepted that the CFTC, the Commodities Federal Trade Commission, so they're the ones who regulate commodities, so gold, silver, other things. They're usually seen as the shining light in the world when it comes to crypto regulation, but now, they issued that lawsuit against Binance. So what's up, Kay? You got something?
Yeah, I was just going to add to the SEC settlement with Kraken, which was $30 million on that.
Yeah. And like I said last week, it was disappointing to see Kraken just bend the knee and not kind of fight back like we are seeing Binance and Coinbase do. But then again, they're also not a US-based company. That's a Canadian-based exchange. So I understand how they would just, okay, well, just let us keep operating. We'll get rid of staking for US customers, which it only hurts US customers and nothing else, as the SEC holds their dominion over anything financial in the United States. So that's the news I picked out for you guys this week. A lot of interesting stories out there always, so if you're interested in what's happening in the wider market, I definitely suggest keeping up to date on the relevant crypto news. But sheesh. So that was a long week, a very eventful week with everything not having to do with Lunk. It was a long week inside of Lunk. We have warring proposals, this team, that team. We have, TR's prop, which is super controversial. And then, we have this exploit. I'll call it an exploit. I think that's the term we can all settle on for now without it being too abrasive or controversial to someone. But we had this exploit with Terraport. So
where do you even start with that?
I know, that's what I mean. Dead air. I don't even know where to start with that. I'm pretty sure everyone is up to date on it. What we can say for sure is that Terraport was exploited. The liquidity pool for the DEX was drained. The wallet that did the draining of the liquidity pool was a wallet hard-coded directly into the smart contract. And we can say that for a fact. Those are the things we can say for a fact. So everything else, we all have our opinions on what happened, I'm sure. I mean, exploit. I mean, it was a rug pull. Someone rug pulled the contract. I'm just going to say it. I mean, it was a rug pull. So,
in your opinion, when you are looking at tokens, what is red flags to you?
well, see that, and that's one of the things about Lunk and their Finder application that I'm not fond of, because most of the things. So besides going and looking at their website, like how legitimate do they look? Getting a decent idea, even though everyone's tricksters on the internet, of who the team is, how put together and professional is their white paper. There's a lot of things to look at. Most of it is sensationalism, and your own personal opinion, especially on Lunk, because if you're interacting on a Solidity based platform, Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, and I'm sure a lot of other chains out there do it as well. I'm not sure because I'm not experienced with them, but on their what we call Terra Finder or Rebel Finder, so their blockchain data application on BSC and Ethereum, you can, if there's a smart contract minted on chain, you can go there and view the smart contract. You can see every function listed. You can look at what wallets and everything about the smart contract. Where did the tokens go? How was it distributed? What does this function do? What does that function do? And of course, not everyone is capable of reading a function written in Solidity, or for Luna Classic written in Rust, but they have these little tools where you can, say you see the top 10 wallets. All right. On there, you can copy paste that top 10 wallet into a tool that runs a function check on the wallet if it's whitelisted or not from taxes. Because a lot of tokens have taxes, either for marketing, development, liquidity. These taxes get distributed for the different functions on the smart contract and what have you. But being able to do that and be like, okay, is this number 3 wallet that holds 35% of supply, is this whitelisted from the different taxes on the contract? And if that wallet is whitelisted, that's a red flag for me. Why is the number 3 top holder, and it's not a contract wallet, it is an individual's wallet? Why are they whitelisted? Probably because they're going to rug pull you without taxes later on, from my own experience. So it's a little bit more difficult on Luna Classic because we don't have that feature. Unless you're going into Terra D and scrolling lines of code, and I don't even know if you can pull up someone else's smart contract. I'm sure you can. Then how do you check these things as a user? How can you offer peer review of a contract as a user of the chain? So I think that's something that should definitely happen, and it adds a layer of mehness to it, because someone's smart contract and how they structure it and how their functions interact with each other, and it's intellectual property. I mean, that's their work. It's their personal property. So it kind of sucks for that, but I mean, we're because someone could just copy paste their code, and issue another contract. But I prefer it as a user. I prefer being able to do that and look deeply into smart contracts. But yeah, you got me ranting now. I'm sorry, guys. So I feel the community is really split right now on the whole Terraport situation, with what happened and who's at fault, and where the fingers.
It's really unfortunate to see people led down a path that was harmful to the community, and we continuously keep seeing this repeatedly over and over again. I would say that we were very fortunate to be able to have Rex around to be able to step in and try his best to contact the exchanges and other individuals in the community that assisted along with to.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I wasn't expecting to see that out of Rex, and I'm super proud of him, and being able to I guess call him my friend, as far as you can be friends with someone across the internet. Really good on him for really hopping to essentially the moment the exploit became public. He started, along with others like Zero X Ears. I saw you on Twitter a lot too, and Azods. Really digging down into the blockchain information. All the data's there for everyone to see, and just putting it out there for people to know about what's going on and what actually happened. Getting past the narratives. You know, blockchain blockchain data don't lie. Blockchain data does not lie, and that's half the point behind a blockchain in this type of sense. It's an immutable ledger that is verifiable and confirmable. If it happens on chain, you can view it on chain, and there's no denying it, regardless of the narratives you spin or don't spin on social media. So it'll be interesting to see where that plays out and how that develops. And hopefully they're able to recuperate funds either from exchanges or however else it would be done, and get those back to the people that invested in Terraport. Because I was really rooting for. Go on.
And Terraport is now trying to stick around and go through a full audit when they should have done that beforehand too.
I mean, they should have done a peer review of their contract at the very least. Have someone that is capable of reading and writing Rust contracts and understanding the intricacies behind it, understanding just what a certain line of code actually means. You don't have to publish that code. There's no requirement to do that right now, unless we implement those functions I was talking about earlier. But have someone look at the damn thing. And that's not asking for much. Like, hey, who writes smart contracts? I know Andre does. He can write smart contracts. He reads and writes them. I mean, hey, Andre, you want to look at this smart contract and make sure there's no funny business going on? I mean, it's not that hard. It's a very close-knit community. We all talk to each other. We all know who each other are. I mean, if you're paying attention, you know who people are. It could have been done. So,
And if you're going to hold the assets of thousands of people, this would seem like it would be precedent to do. It is a responsibility for an organization.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter if you had someone else do it. I mean, if you're the entity that is putting out a product, it is on you to make sure that product is safe for its users. Regardless of if you as an individual and being the head of the entity knows how to read smart contracts, it is your responsibility to make sure that it's safe before you release it to the public, to avoid things just like this. And I've seen some people come out and be like, well, we need to KYC every single person that wants to write a single line of code on chain. And I think that's ridiculous. This isn't TradFi. This is DeFi. And I personally think that that's just a great way to get a great many of developers that would like to come and code on chain, either as a layer 1 or a layer 2, to completely not want to do that anymore, if that's something that the community requires with what we've seen go on this past year with the attacks and the public slander and defamation, not only on Twitter but also contacting people's workplaces and filing complaints against them simply because they don't like their ideas. They didn't do anything. They didn't scam anyone. They didn't steal from anyone. They just didn't like what they had to say. So they attacked them on social media and then also went the extra mile and attacked them in their real lives, you know. And this happened to people I don't even like. So for me, you know, to come around and be like, that's disgusting, that you should not do that under any circumstances, you know, is, I mean, that's saying a lot. So, and just going into the whole, you know, you would be driving devs away, in my opinion. And I've interacted with a lot of projects over the last few years through my Web3 and crypto journey. Guess what? I have been rugged by completely doxed teams. So, I mean, I've been rugged a few times and it really sucks. And I guarantee you that a team being doxed doesn't matter, because if they're in Singapore or some whatever other country, I mean, and only the UK government is willing to file a suit against them, then, I mean, ain't nothing going to come of it. It really don't matter.
So I guess we'll see how this all plays out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think KYC is the way to go. I would really like to see, you know, peer review the contracts. It's the best we can do right now. I think private individuals have a right to their privacy, and yeah, peer review the contracts. Have a group of people that can read Rust, you know, and they can be the peer review group or whatever. And I think that would save us. And of course, that doesn't stop anything, because anyone can go and release a smart contract on chain. They can go mint a token. So any arbitrary rules about KYC don't mean anything, because it's up to the individual to support that project or not. If they want a docs team, then they'll support the project. If they don't want a docs team, they don't care if the team's docs, they just care about their product, then they're going to support the project, regardless of if influencers on Twitter and YouTube are saying not to trust them because they're not doxed. But, I mean, we all have our opinions about the clickbaiters. So I think that's enough said about Terraport. We don't need to keep rehashing. It's still an ongoing situation, so we'll see how that plays out. Okay, so other than that, you know, the warring props, it looks like the original L1 team is going to be moving forward into Q2. Hopefully not hopefully. I mean, I'm not trying to jinx them by saying so, because they still have a day left, but it's looking pretty strong there. The other proposed team for L1 moving forward, not looking too hot right now. And I think it's a good prop. The content of it is somewhat solid, you know, depending on who you like or dislike in the community.
What's really important is, you know, being able to put aside who you like and dislike and be able to see things as they are at face value as they're presented. I understand that there is, you know, some sort of professionalism that needs to be upheld, but putting all the other shit aside, it's just important to see.
Yeah, you know, and I talked to you know, Bilbo's one of the proposed devs inside that other L1 task force proposal, and you know, I talked with him a lot over the last week, you know, just discussing ideas and what have you, you know, and I mean, he seems all right, but the person pushing your proposition is really, in my opinion, abrasive and rather crass, to the point that he had his posting rights removed on Twitter. So if you want to be taken as a serious force inside of Lunk, then you need to conduct yourself as a serious force inside Lunk and not be using racial slurs on public social media. So
Yeah, I would like to be able to see the content as opposed to the shitstorm.
yeah, and that's what that other dev group was arguing. They were like, well, it doesn't matter how we act on social media if we're cursing and slandering people because it's the content of the proposition that matters. And I'm like, yeah, in a perfect world where people weren't ruled by sensationalism and emotions. So no, I mean, you got to play the politics game. Sadly, I mean, there's politics involved. I mean, you have to be approachable and what have you. So yeah, moving into Q2 with the L1 task force. I think they really need to perform this second quarter to be able to come back for Q3. So we'll see how that goes. I'm sure most of us have read the proposition, um, you know, but I would like to go over their their lineup for what they plan on doing for Q2. If I could just get to it real quick, I didn't actually have it pulled up. God, people are just posting props all over Agora. You got it, Kay?
Oh, no.
Mm,
But I can get to it pretty quickly.
yeah. I see rabbis. Maybe this is it. We're just all over the place now. There was even a third one. Nope, that's rabbis. Um, there was even a third proposition pulled up to combine the two teams, which I mean, I think that's an equitable idea. We should be looking to work with each other instead of against each other, and just not gatekeep the L1 to a set team, because we really should be welcoming and inviting to as many developers as possible that want to get involved on the layer one, and not be like a good old boys club where if you're not in this group of 6 people that is called the L1 task force, then you don't get to touch the L1. So, but that's a different conversation that we'll have when we don't have more pressing things to get here, because I know everyone here is not here to listen to me and Kay monologue or dialogue about our personal opinions inside a Lunk. You want to hear what Redline Drifter has to say. Did you find that prop though? Because I did want to go through those.
Yes, I did.
Okay, shoot it to me in DM. Just so everyone is clear on, what is expected of the L1 team moving into Q2. I mean, the main point is parity. I heard reports that certain things were actually completed in Q1, but I'm not going to get into that. I haven't confirmed or denied, not denied, but unconfirmed any of these reports. So Longburn, who is the project manager for the L1, he submitted this proposal, and he goes over what they're moving into on Q2. Upgraded Cosmos SDK and Tendermint environment, which is the L1. Their main focus right now is getting the core protocol to V2, which, if I'm not mistaken, and anyone is free to correct me if I'm wrong, does bring us to parity. Reworking the Oracle feeder, which deals with the more financial aspects and just day-to-day data for the chain. They want to bring that up to v2.0.4, test and bump to release. They want to do some modifications to prepare Terra.js for v2, bump Terra.js to release, prepare Terra Proto for release and do that as well. They want to work with the L2 team and working on, there is no L2 team, but whoever's working on the L2, they want to fix and patch station and bring that up to speed, especially with the core protocol updates. They want to build out a test net with the existing validators, with at least 30% of them. That's their target. And testnet's good because that's where the L1 as well as layer 2 contract writers will go to test their product, and the functionality of their smart contract before releasing it to the public on chain, instead of testing on public like some entities did the past few months. And this is all just in April. So, I mean, April was already halfway over, and the prop was delayed by a week essentially because the first one got denied. So I'm sure, any and all roadmaps are always up for corrections and amendments, especially when it comes to development. So as long as they knock most of this out in Q2 at all, I'd be pretty happy. I don't care who wrote codes on the L1. I don't care. Just don't be a drama queen, and let's get parity knocked out. It's been a while. I know a lot of work has gone into it though. So yeah, schedule the V2 upgrade, review and update product backlog for L1 team. And then they want to integrate a fee share module from the Juno release, finalize the Cosm Wasm, finalize pre-release of the core. And this is going into May. Schedule the V2.1 upgrade to mainnet. And then also have on-call support during the chain halt, and that's to allow all the validators to actually understand what it is that's required from them, and also the different exchanges and larger protocols operating on chain to be able to, update whatever it is they need to update, whatever parameters, so we don't see a lot of broken websites and functions and exchanges taking a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get their deposits and withdrawals back online after the upgrade. Finalize Terra operator. So overhaul continuous integration workflows, establish IBC to Kajiro, which is another Cosmos chain. We'll go over what IBC is and exactly what Cosmos, the Internet of Blockchains, is a different time. And then moving on into June, they want to update Luna Classic developer documentation, which is something we definitely need. It's Luna Classic is not an easy blockchain to build on, simply because there's next to no documentation for developers, and developers live, breathe, and survive off of proper documentation so they can do what they want to do effectively and quickly, without having to reinvent the wheel every other day. And then, so that's definitely something we need. Assess migration paths to Tendermint to Comet BFT. I'm not exactly sure what that means, guys. I'm going to be fully honest with you. Research options for bridging cross-chain liquidity, review on-ramp technologies, prepare review Q3, blah, 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 blah. And then they go into the financial aspects, which I don't feel like discussing here because it's been discussed enough times already. So that's a pretty good backlog for the L1 if they're able to accomplish it through Q2 of 23, then I think everyone would be pretty happy. If they don't accomplish it, I could see people being rather upset. So,
well, if they don't accomplish it, then we'll just figure something out as a community, right?
Exactly. And I have a lot to say about that, but again, a different time, because we're here to listen to Redline and what he has to say about his newly published USTC incremental repeg buyback, staking, and swaps proposal.
Sorry, it's a bit of a mouthful, all right, isn't it?
Say again?
That it's a bit of a mouthful, all right, the title.
It is. I mean, but it just goes along with everything else about your proposal. How readable it is, how digestible it is. Like I told you last night, it was hard for me to come up with questions because you just kind of lay it all out, and it made sense to me. So
Couldn't repeat that again. I'm not sure that I wrote a bit. I
if
missed
I
all
hope
the aspects of it.
you're breaking up a little bit, buddy. I can't really understand you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure I might rugging a bit there. Can you hear me now?
Little bit of I don't even know what to call it. I guess kind of feedback. It's almost like your mic is double inputting.
Any better now? No? Or
Yeah, that's better for me.
Yeah, that's definitely better. So just hold your mouth right.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'd like to put the proposal up in the nest. I don't know how to because I don't Twitter space often, and we'll figure that out. But for anyone that's looking, you'll find the proposal on my Twitter feed, on Redline's Twitter feed, and you can go and take a look at that. So why don't you just walk us through it, Redline? Give us your spoken perspective of your proposal.
So basically, in terms of why we're doing this, so if we look at how we operated before, on chain we had mechanisms to control the peg, and off chain we had the Luna Foundation Guard and we Jump Crypto that were there as well, and they used to do mechanical buybacks off chain for us to help maintain the peg, in scenarios of depeg. So they had billions in reserve, to keep the peg for us. And so with them gone, not only are we depegged, we've nothing to even hold us where we're at. Like, we're completely zero collateralization. So part of the aim of this proposal is to build back collateral, and the other aim is to replace those buybacks with an automatic system, using those fees. So we'd actually have something that would be pushing back against the price all the time and actually trying to defend the peg. And so then afterwards, because we'd be acquiring these fees, like, rather than just burning them, I think it'd be better we actually put them to use. So I've split the fees two ways. So what we'd be doing with half of them is we'd be sending half of it to create a USTC staking or savings pool, right? So basically, the rewards that the protocol gets, the fees that the protocol gets, they'd be given as rewards for locking up your USTC, for set periods of time. And that takes USTC out of circulation, which pushes up the price as well, so it's kind of... Can you hear me? Yeah?
Yeah, we still got you, buddy.
So that helps push up the price a bit as well. And then on the other side, for the Lunk holders, like before, you used to have arbitrage by swapping between Lunk and USTC. Now we have so much Lunk, I don't think we should ever mint Lunk again. So what we do instead is, so when we set a peg price, if the price of USTC went above that, what we do is we'd allow limited swaps from Lunk back into USTC, but it wouldn't be like we used to before. It used to be minting USTC, whereas here it would be a direct exchange. You'd be exchanging your Lunk for the protocol-owned USTC, basically. And so that's kind of the wind up of it. And then, so we basically try to build up collateral over time and start pushing the peg up and eventually get back to $1. And hopefully at that time we'd have built up sufficient collateral to actually hold the peg ourselves. And that's kind of the aim of what I'm doing, really.
Okay. And I know this involves a layer of centralized exchange cooperation. How is it that you plan on going about that?
Right, so if you look at my proposal, you'll see I have a table done up where I've shown, say, what Binance would normally be taking in fees. I think they charge 0.2% normally on their trading fees. And what we'd pull in if we had, say, or the protocol in place at the time. Now, if you look at the figures there, so if you look, say, if we had a 0.2, say, a 2-cent peg, we'd have pulled in over the last 6 months 476,000, say, approximately dollars. If we were under a 0.22, it'd be like 22 million. And if we were at 2.5 cents would be 91 million. Now, those figures, they're high. That would be assuming that trading volume was exactly the same all the time, and that's just not going to be the case. So what I've done is I reduced the trading volume by 90%, but like that still means that we'd be pulling in $9 million over, which is quite significant considering we're doing nothing at the moment. And like that would far outstrip what Binance is burning. If we were to use the long swaps with it. And so basically what we do is we could split some of those profits with the CXs, and like we could pay them way more than they'd normally get in from the regular trading fees. Like we could give them a multiple of that. So we'd be incentivized to implement the protocol basically.
You're cutting out, Redline.
Okay, how much of that did you get? Sorry.
It was right at the end.
All right, so basically we'd be able to incentivize the CXs to implement the divergence fee because we'd be taking in so much that we could give them a multiple of what they'd normally take in. So it's in their interest to implement this. They'd make more profit doing so. And at the end of the day, they're a business. They're here to make money. So if they can make more money, I don't see why they wouldn't do it. Can you hear me or?
I was on mute, my bad. No, but I completely agree, especially with centralized exchanges, like you said, they're here to make money. So if the community comes at them with an option, be like, hey, we want to make you more money kind of by profit sharing our, repeg effort taxes with you, then I don't see why they wouldn't be willing to do that.
Yeah, because basically we go to them now when we're begging them to burn, and they're burning their own money essentially. Like they've no incentive to do it other than the publicity, really. Whereas with this proposal, we're going to them with an opportunity for them to make more money. We're not going to them begging. We're going to them with a business proposal. It's a much better than what we're going to them currently with.
Exactly. No, I mean, it just, like I said, it just makes sense to me. I don't see. If the exchange has the trading pairs and they see enough or any volume and liquidity exchange with UST, I don't see why they wouldn't do it at all, personally, unless someone else does. And if someone else does, then feel free to drop your comment or your question in the comments, or if anything, we'll bring some people up at the end to speak or ask Redline their questions directly. So just breaking down the actual, basic structure of the tax itself. It's my understanding that we essentially arbitrarily choose a peg price, probably where it's been sitting for the last 8 months, close to, whatever the average is. Let's say, let's peg it at 0.025. I don't even know where it's at right now. So it's at 0.022 and it's been there forever. So let's peg it at 0.021, and every cell of UST below that peg will be taxed, and that will not only create a disincentive for selling below peg, but it'll also fund the protocol's eventual full backing through the commissions and the liquidity obtained through the tax. And up and until we reach a dollar peg, or perhaps, maybe one day the community's like, let's settle on 50 cents. Whenever we reach our ending peg, then the tax will also execute on cells above peg, which will be a disincentive and to sell above peg, kind of killing the ability to arbitrage the token, as you see what happened with a lot of stable coins, and maintain peg while providing that needed backing. Is that about right? That's pretty much it, isn't it?
That's it. But at some point in time, it will be in the distant future, like when we've built up sufficient enough collateral there, like that USTC is over collateralized or something like that, like then we can look at again, but lunk
You're
into
breaking up
USTC.
again, buddy.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Give it another try.
Sorry, so
Nope, you're gone again.
could allow lunk into USTC swaps, but mint the USTC. But that would only be when way down the line if we were over collateralized at the time, basically. So you'd be able to turn on the AMM.
So for the time being, you want to turn off the market swap mechanism for swapping UST to anything else, essentially, on chain.
Sorry, I'm not sure as I wrote again. I missed what you said there. Can you repeat that again for me, please?
So you want to turn off the market swap mechanism for UST and any trading pair until such a time that PEG has been achieved and there's enough backing to sustain the market swaps. And while doing that, you want to, when it's UST to lunk, it comes from the backing. When it's lunked to UST, it doesn't really matter. It's a stable coin. You can just mint new UST.
Yeah, but I think because we're so far underwater at the moment and there's so many people who bought at $1, it'll need to get to the point where we're over past $1 before we can introduce that again. And like I think we're going on the way up with this. Like it's not going to be plain sailing. Like we're going to reach sell walls. Do you know what I mean? Where people are going to try sell and will sell into the tax when they get it'll help us a bit, but the closer we get to 1, the harder it's going to be to push further up.
Yeah, because as we approach $1, not only are you going to be seeing people that bought UST at 2 cents, not only are they going to be selling what is a 50x gain, which is a respectable gain, but you're also going to start seeing the people that have been holding UST since $1 get out of Dodge. So you're saying, this is going to be a long, arduous process. And to expect a lot of volatility as we work our way there.
Yeah, well, I think the tax will kind of curb the volatility on the downside, because people won't sell too far into that tax, because it goes from 0 to 100, so it can get aggressive, if you get what I'm saying.
Okay, so it is not a linear tax. It is a tiered tax that the more off from PEG it is, the more you're taxed on your swap.
Yeah, basically, so whatever the difference from PEG is, you basically subtract that from your market price and you get what you receive.
Okay. So if it's 5 cents off PEG, you're going to get 95% of your funds you're swapping. If it's 20% off PEG, you're getting 80% of your funds. Yeah, that could be that's a good disincentive. I mean, especially down here, because if sheesh, you see a 10% gain, but you want to sell that, but you're at a 95% loss if you sell it. I mean, that's a pretty good disincentive. I could see that achieving quite the gain upwards on the lower end of the swap rate, until we get to $1. And obviously, as you said, as we get closer to $1, those tax losses become smaller, and it's going to be harder to etch out that last 10% to achieve $1. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. K-Rox, I mean, yeah, you got any questions about the Repeg proposal?
Yeah, how does this proposal outstand the other proposals that have been presented and the other ideas?
Well, if you look at almost every other proposal that's been put forward so far, none of them were completely risk. Well, a lot of them, none of them could stop a debt spiral, whereas this can. This 100% can stop a debt spiral. It prevents it. There's a maximum of a 50% drop in MCAP, and that's it. because at that you'd be giving your money to the protocol basically, or giving your tokens away. So it can prevent a debt spiral is what I'm proposing.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with that, because maybe not completely stop one, but it sure adds a really good disincentive for one, because I mean you're guaranteed those losses on top of the losses you would already have from the coin losing peg. So you're multiplying the potential loss, which is a good disincentive for selling below peg. And once the system regains trust, it sounds like an arbitrary peg, so it's not always going to maintain $1. It'll fluctuate above, it'll fluctuate under, as most stable coins do, and perhaps this one fluctuates a little bit more until the liquidity behind the coin gets so high enough that market sell-offs don't affect it to the extent that you would see it have with low liquidity. But yeah.
Yeah, that's basically it. Like, so it'll be a soft peg essentially, because at the start there is going to be no collateral in the protocol until there is a depeg event. Basically, like that's how it gets its money, from people selling off peg.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but basically over time the aim is that you build up collateral in behind it, so that the buyback side of the protocol would eventually be able to hold the peg. So you shouldn't have depeg scenarios, but this will be way down the line. Initially at the start it's going to depeg a few times because it has to build up the collateral to buy back.
Yeah, of course. So it really is a long-term initiative to first reach peg and then also gain the market acceptance and stability in order to maintain peg as more and more people begin to trust the protocol.
Yeah, I won't be able to instantly repeg it to 1. That's just not one.
Okay. And I know any estimates really don't mean anything because there's no data there for you to go through and come up with an estimate. But what is your ballpark generalized idea of just like how long is this? Do you assume it will take to start marching towards $1 and eventually get there?
Well, I actually think at the start it'll probably move a lot quicker, because if you look at the trading pairs, like if you go onto Binance, the order books are thin enough, so it won't take a lot of liquidity to move those way up. Like I'd imagine we'll see 10, 20, 30 cent quite fast, and after that it'll slow down quite a lot as we push up from there. But I'd imagine that up to the first 20 cent I could see it moving quite quickly, because there's not a lot of liquidity in these trading pairs at the moment.
Okay. And could you go into once the protocol has been somewhat established, you have different features you would like to implement for the utility of UST, such as staking and a saving vault service. I would assume that's kind of like a banking contract. So how is it you envision implementing that, and just any thoughts you have on the idea?
How do you mean implement? Will it be on-chain implementation only, so it would bring more tokens on-chain? I'm not really sure about kind of the times for the token lockups. I was thinking maybe you could have 1 day, 1 month, 6 months, and 1 year, and have the rate of rewards increase for the longer that you lock up your tokens.
Okay. And the main purpose of that is not only to receive some type of reward, for staking your coins and believing in the protocol, but it also where was I going with that?
Takes coins out of circulation.
Yeah. It takes coins out of circulation, which stops the volatility and helps to achieve peg. And coins out of circulation are essentially non-existent for the time that they're locked up, which would only help, in a liquidity manner, lower the UST supply, which would then help us incrementally get closer to, a repeg. Okay.
Yeah, it should accelerate it basically. It should accelerate the repeg having that USTC stakings lock up. And the other thing then is for people who lost from $1, like they mightn't want to sell out for a long time. So it gives them incentive to lock up that USTC straight away, knowing that in most likely it could be 6 months to a year or whatever length of time before they'll see a dollar again. So they're incentivized to lock that up immediately. Do you know what I mean? It's not sitting in circulation.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would completely agree. And it adds a layer one functionality for UST simply besides being stable. That it brings more utility to the coin. It gives people an incentive to hold the coin when you have the chance of earning yield with it. Okay.
Exactly. It makes USTC yield bearing where it wasn't before, basically. Like at the moment, there's no incentive to hold USTC other than it's purely a speculative that it might 50 buy. I mean, it's not being used by DApps at the moment. Now that might change with parity, but I think if you made it a yield bearing token, like that would greatly increase the uptake of it, and people would be more inclined to buy it.
Exactly, and looking at the history of spend props and contract functions, it looked like most every spend prop was utilized UST instead of LUNC. So once we bring more utility to UST and it's repegged, that'll also help with spend proposals for either L1 teams or whatever else, and also removing liquidity for LUNC, because we're not liquidity but circulating supply, because instead of LUNC getting pulled out of the community pool, it's going to be UST, and since that's pegged, it doesn't matter if it gets dumped. But if LUNC gets dumped, then we're getting dumped on by the people we're paying to build the chain. So okay, honestly, everyone, unless y'all have, does anyone have any questions? Kay, any more questions? Chrissy, I see you're in the audience. Any questions? Cody, Yogaba?
I would like to ask that this proposal has been sent to exchanges, from my understanding. Is that correct?
Yeah, I actually only found this information out this morning. That was actually Rex again did that. So I know he's reached out to Binance, Huobi, MEXC, and I think another 2 or 3 exchanges as well. Now we've wait to hear back from them, but I know that they all have the proposal now.
Okay. So hopefully then we'll see some type of response from them. Maybe Rex will share with us. I don't know if he wanted that to be public as of yet. I don't know.
It was already public.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Obviously, Rex is still here working for the community, which is awesome to see. He's always been a good guy, in my opinion, and he's just taking that initiative to further our own objectives, and honestly, that's really good to see before this is put up to a vote. So Redline doesn't waste LUNC putting up a prop that sexes have already denied. So it'll be interesting to see what they have to say about that. Anybody, any questions? Raise your hand if you have a question. If you don't want to speak, feel free to drop it in the comments. You're more than welcome to come up and ask your questions. Unless everyone just kind of gets it and they just think it makes sense and they don't have questions. So.
And if you can't think of any questions right now, there is Redline hangs out in the Discord in the USTC channel.
He is active in there a lot, answering questions, and he definitely is open to discussing and debating ideas with anyone that's willing to come in there, and speak with him. I just realized I don't know if I'm recording this space, which would really suck. So that would suck. Anyways, Come on, guys. Really, no questions? That's crazy.
Does everyone want to do it or not want to do it?
I know, right? I mean, give us a like if you want it to happen. I don't know. There's no really good way of polling inside of Twitter Spaces. And so this requires the L1 team to kind of flush out, right? Like the L1 team or a team that you put together or other community members put together. It requires obviously someone to code it all and get it working with the proper functions. And I guess it would be good to have an L1 member, someone up here that could discuss the functionality behind it and if they see any flaws or difficulties with the code structure for such an idea. I have a very limited understanding of how functions interact with each other. I personally, with my limited knowledge, I don't see anything that would be too difficult besides actually writing the functions. There's not really anything, in my opinion, my ignorant opinion, that would be too difficult functionality wise. Alex, I see you're wanting to come up, so I'm going to move you up to speaker. Please ask your question, and let's see what Redline has to say. All right, Alex, go ahead anytime, buddy.
Hi, thanks. For this proposal to work, don't we have to wait for clarity through the L1 task force to get through their legal representatives to give the go-ahead that everything is okay as far as regulation goes for the stablecoin?
So what I'm putting up this week will be just a signaling prop, and this is really just that Morris has already went to the exchanges, but it was mainly that we're going to pursue this direction, and I'd have a governance prop coming up after that. I'd have to speak with the L1 team and TGF in more detail, but legal would definitely be part of that going forward. I'd want it from myself, even if I was to pursue this, we'd have to have some sort of legal advice before we move forward with it.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir.
Good question, Alex. Good question. And there's definitely some concerns when operating in the U.S. jurisdiction and other jurisdictions across the world that have taken a very negative stance on cryptocurrencies in general, but especially stablecoins or fiat currency derivatives, because it's a direct threat to their monetary system. So, definitely a concern, but just because, and this is something I'm thinking about, this is a worldwide community. It's a worldwide blockchain. And regardless of what the SEC stance is, depending on how frisky you want to get with the SEC, we don't necessarily have to always bend the knee to them, especially if you're not inside of a U.S. jurisdiction, and your country won't. What's the term? Won't extradite you for court proceedings. Not financial advice, not legal advice, just my personal opinion. So, Alex, unless you have anything else to ask or say, I'm going to go ahead and drop you down. Thank you for coming up and asking your question. Much appreciated. So if anybody else, Bueller, any questions? No? Okay. I'm just gonna say that everyone's in agreement then, and they understand the idea behind it.
And the other thing, from a legal standpoint as well, like when it concerns the SEC, we're not issuing any new tokens, so we'd be much less of a target than any of the other blockchains that are issuing tokens.
Exactly, because though the SEC is definitely all over the place with who they pick and choose to target, it's mainly because they're marking different coins or tokens as securities, which would bring them under their jurisdiction, though they haven't defined what a security is, and what, is considered a security. But if you're looking at the greater whole, it's basically a centralized entity, or what can be considered a centralized entity, sold coins with the idea of maintaining funding or obtaining funding for their project, or they sold something with the expectation of profit. Considering that no one, Redline, myself, K-Rox, Chrissy, Yogaba, Cody, no one here or currently involved with Luna Classic minted these coins to sell to people to fund a project, and we did not mint these coins for people to buy with the expectation of profit. I don't see any huge red flags. We're simply using something, and the SEC as well as like CFTC has already come out and essentially said that coins that were sold as a security are not necessarily a security with their current day-to-day trading, and it's only that initial entity that can come under regulatory scrutiny, and not the users of the coin or token. I saw we had someone else that was going to come up to speak. I'm sorry I missed you. You're more than welcome to come up, try again, and I'll bring you up on stage for you to ask your question. I think that was you, I'm really. If not, we'll just keep chugging on along. And you guys make this difficult without having questions. I only have so many questions. It's not fair. It's not fair. You got to help me out. We're working together here. So, yep, there we go. I'm really, thank you, man. I'm running out of questions. Add to speaker. Just go ahead whenever you get connected. Go ahead and ask your question. Your mic's muted if you're not aware of that. I'm really.
Yes, hi, sorry about that. So I just wanted to say, thank you, Redline Drifter, and also, Clan Mohan. You guys do an excellent job in the community. I've been in the community for a little while now, over a year since the Repeg, and I've been watching how everything functions. My only question today is regarding, supposedly, this proposal does pass governance, gets put up for governance, and it goes through. Will this, new proposals that you have, with the partial pools, giving the USTC more utility, will this also be used in the future to help keep it stable from depegging again?
Yeah, that's the whole point. So the more this if you can imagine, every time this gets hit, the stronger it gets. The more you hit this protocol and the more it depegs, the more collateral it builds up inside it, if that makes sense to you. So the more times we depeg initially, the more collateral we'll have at the end. So yeah, the whole point of this is that we have built something that will last us forever and prevent depegs going into the future. And the longer we keep it in play, the stronger it'll get.
Potentially, eventually, until we reach complete backing. So what happens, Redline, if we it's 2 years from now, it's depegged 27 times, and we've built up so much collateral that the UST is completely backed. There's probably some supply reduction in there somewhere. It's dollar for dollar backed, and now we surpass the backing, okay? And it's $1.25 per each UST, which is $1.25. Do we raise the peg to $1.25, or do we, move towards a different initiative to use those extra funds for something else, or does it just go into the UST staking rewards pool? What does that do?
If we get this far, this is really where it really helps to burn off lunk. So what I'd be doing here is, once we get above $1 and you get to $1.20, basically you'd be allowed to swap your lunk back into USDC at the $1.08, and you make that profit. So it'll be burning off lunk, and while bringing down the price of USDC, basically. So so we'd have our old system again, but it'll only be one way. So you'll only ever be able to swap Lunk into USTC. But this would be way down the line, and it would have to be fully collateralized. But that would be the long-term goal, would be that we'd be able to burn off the Lunk supply through swaps like we used to, basically.
Okay. So it'll always be a one-way swap. You will never be able to swap your UST to Lunk. You would have to utilize your UST on chain or swap it to a different currency on chain, or to back to fiat. But you will never be able to obtain more Lunk through UST.
I think, like, if you look at what we have now, like Lunk, we have minted so much. I don't think we'll ever need to mint any more tokens. I think we just need to just focus on reducing supply, possibly indefinitely. Because
Okay.
if you look at it, Lunk is the governance token that should be able to fluctuate up and down in value a bit. Terra is the money, and that should be stable. So no, I'd be kind of pushing that. No, we should be trying to funnel down the Lunk supply as much as possible. That was the aim of this, isn't it? I mean, you want to burn down supply. I believe this is the best way to do it.
Okay.
Burn utility, like.
I agree with the idea. It's as simple as that. I mean, I can't. I'm trying really hard to find an angle that you didn't approach or think of. But obviously, you're definitely smarter than I am in the world of finance and quantitative analysis. So I doubt I'd be able to find something you didn't think of.
Well, I'm not actually a quant in real life, and I've always said that I'm just good mathematically. Like, I don't have experience in DeFi or TradeFi. I'm just good at maths, and I be a critical thinker, so I kind of see problems quicker than other people would. So
Yeah.
that's
And personally, I see nothing wrong with that, because you put together a solid plan that I feel, is actionable and covers all the angles I can think of. So your professional background is irrelevant due to the quality of your product so far.
well, and the CEXs, they all have quant desks, and they're all going to examine this, I'm sure, in depth.
Exactly. I highly doubt Binance or whatever other large exchange that we would be approaching with this, maybe KuCoin, they wouldn't having their financial team give it a good look so they could have a full of understanding of just what they're getting into. But I mean, not even just the financial aspect for centralized exchanges. I mean, it's also a good publicity idea for them. I mean, look at this centralized exchange and how they're being angels. They're helping, a community effort to repeg their stablecoin after they were abandoned by TFL, since they launched V2. I mean, that just gives you more of that publicity and that marketing angle, which is what Binance has been doing for the past year. I mean, they're just
Marketing as well, isn't it? I mean, that'd be probably the best comeback story I've ever heard in crypto. Anyway, do you know, most coins when they hit a death spiral, they never come back. Do you know what I mean? Whereas we're going to come back and make sure it never happens to us again.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, no, exactly. I mean, you don't see protocols come back after something so detrimental and tragic happens to the chain. Be it because of the core protocol or because of some type of exploit, due to a contract being written badly, or whatever entity was interacting with it, like with Ethereum, and why they hard forked into Ethereum, and what was Ethereum became Ethereum Classic when they had that exploit back in like 2013. And now you see Ethereum, the new one. So essentially what Luna V2 is in idea, at least, being $2,000, but, Ethereum Classic, doing its own thing, kind of forgotten in the ether. LOL. No pun intended on ether. So for Lunk to really make a comeback, and honestly, just Lunk being here at all right now is already a comeback. No financial advisor or investor or anyone in their right mind a year ago was just like, yeah, Lunk's going to be there a year. They're going to have a comeback. They're going to have a strong community, though they bicker often about silly things. Still supporting it, but it's what happened. I mean, we all degened in like a year ago. I'm sure we have some newcomers that we've acquired over the last year, and we're still here, and we're still trying to figure it out. And this just, I really applaud you for putting so much thought and time into this proposal to really try to move the effort forward. And at no point in time have you asked of anything in return from the community besides for them to simply read your work here and give it some of their cognitive thought and truly consider it. Yeah, I think this is something that we as a community can really get behind. I would love to see some opposing arguments from the people in the community that have, a reason as to why we shouldn't go with this, or from the people that always shoot everything down regardless of what it is. I'd like to see someone try and make a case against it and pick that apart. And
So I did see a few comments in Agora, and some of them were saying you couldn't have a 0 to 100% tax. Nobody will invest in that. But they're completely wrong here, because if you look at what Luna was before, we actually had a Tobin tax that used to charge the spread, which is basically the difference in price between the Luna and Terra coin, and it used to burn that. And that used to go from 0 to 100%. It used to be dynamic as well. So people invested into this token already with a 0 to 100% tax. So it's not exactly something new that I'm doing here. I'm just applying it to a different place.
Exactly. And also, to kind of underline that, and I'll bring you back up in a second. What are you really? I'm curious. I'm really him. Okay. But you see that with layer 2 tokens as well. There's certain parameters in smart contracts that you can change depending on how you write the contract. And one of those is contract taxes. You can change those taxes, essentially whatever time you want, from 5% tax for marketing and buybacks to 100% tax because they're rugging you. So it is definitely something that people invest in, and, you see it rather regularly. Rarely do I see some type of smart contract protocol layer 2 application that does not have some form of smart contract taxes. And if they have taxes in there, I personally have not seen one where they can't change those taxes anytime they want. It's just a parameter change to their smart contract. They don't have to remint the contract. They don't have to remint the tokens. They can just go in there and change a couple numbers around, and your 5% marketing tax turns into 100% screw you tax. So it is definitely something that people are aware of, and they still buy into. So go on, Redline.
Okay, and this will be completely at the L1 level. So this isn't something like some dev could just go in and change. The only way you could change these parameters is via governance vote.
Exactly.
That's the important part of this.
Exactly, which is a good thing to point out after what I just said. So that doesn't become a FUD narrative, just like, Krampus could come in here and, change the thing and whatever. That's what makes layer 1 protocols so, in terms of, security of the code base, is that for it to run on chain, then a higher percentage, I think, 63% of the validators have to implement the code change. Without that, either the change isn't accepted because not enough validators implemented the code change to create a chain halt, or, like I said, a chain halt happens until enough validators implement the new code, and then that becomes the code's consensus. So there is essentially, how many active validators do we have? 132, 133? You have 132 firewalls that should be there reviewing and having, if they're not as an individual capable of understanding the technical aspects of code changes, then they should have someone on their team that can at least skim it, and make sure that nothing malicious is being implemented. Because validators for proof of stake blockchains, just like miners for proof of work blockchains, they are the blockchain. They're the one running the code. They're the one verifying transactions. And they're truly the foundation of what everything is built on. So yeah. I saw you popped up again. Did I bring you back up? I don't remember. I ranted for a bit. Anyone else have any questions at all? We're getting past the hour and a half mark. You're back. All right. Add to speaker. I appreciate you, buddy.
So the last question I have is what I've been seeing in the Agora, like a lot of persons, even including myself, like from reading the proposal.
We lost you. Take a couple steps back. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people been thinking that the trading volume will drop all the way down. I've been thinking the same thing, and that's one of the concerns I've been seeing in the Agora. Can you guys elaborate on what's the chances of that happening? Thank you.
Go on, Redline. I'll add my 2 cents afterwards. My 2 long.
If you look down, so if you look at the further disty pegs, right? So if you look at, say, if we have imagine the price was at $1, and say there was a major depeg and it went down to 60 cents, right? For every one external buy, so for every one buyer on the CEX, right, the protocol will take enough in taxes that it'll actually be able to do 2 further buys. So you'll be putting severe positive price pressure on the market then, if you get me. So it will come down once or twice, but it's going to be limited. There's a limit to how far it can drop. Yeah, and the more it happens, the more you'll build up collateral back in the system, basically. So it's what some of them are saying, just it simply isn't true. And we've had a taxation similar to this already on our chain before. And part of the reason that we had the crash is because it wasn't applied to all our markets.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and just my user perspective, because that's what I am here more than anything else. Everyone, I'm just a user, so that's perhaps an educated user, perhaps. But the volume you're seeing right now is speculation on a Repeg proposal. So if we just keep turning down every Repeg proposal, there's no reason to bind the coin, because the only reason there is the speculation that we're capable of achieving a $1 peg one day somehow.
Exactly.
So,
and at least with this, you're getting yield with the USTC. Do you know what I mean? So there's still a reason to buy the coin, even be pegged. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now there's absolutely nothing but, like you said, pure speculation.
Exactly. And we might, depending on people's personal preferences, beliefs, agendas, or whatever, we might see an influx of volume because people are rushing to buy the token because they believe in it. They believe in Redline's plan. Or you might see some people sell it, which only helps the protocol, and as there's only so many sellers in any market, depending on the fundamentals that are currently, or the narratives that are currently playing into that coin. You only see so many sellers until people stop selling. And then if people are buying, and the more people sell, then the more that Redline's proposal and initiative can prove itself, which builds more faith in the coin and the idea, which brings more sellers. So if anything, sellers would actually help the idea, create a foundation for itself. Be like, oh, this actually works. Look. So, I don't see that being an issue. And if anything, I think you would increase volume due to the speculative nature of the plan, is my opinion.
what I actually think is going to happen is when we put this in place, right, most of the trading liquidity is just going to move above peg. So we'll just see all the trading above there. And I'll imagine we'll just see the protocol chasing the peg up for initially. That's what I imagine we'll do for the first 2 weeks. Then we'll see the price move up and the protocol will chase that up and incrementally push the peg up.
No,
that's what I see happening. Peg for a little bit.
Sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off. You're getting me a little excited. Okay, so no, I completely agree because, like I said, you're going to see those people rush in because of the speculation. I was just like, oh shit, this might just happen, and that's going to drive up the value of UST, and and you're going to constantly.
If you look at the figure, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just talking now. You're going to have those corrections along the way, but that just adds further to the speculation and the FOMO, and that's what these markets currently run off of. Sometimes it's the fundamentals, like Ethereum's Shanghai or Shapella upgrade. I guess they didn't like Shanghai anymore. There's the fundamental aspect of that and what it means for Ethereum, but most of these coins trade on speculation and what might happen and what might be achieved, which is why you always see the buy the hype, sell the news things play out on the charts. So no, I don't see volume being an issue. Anyways, what were you going to say, Redline?
I can't actually remember now. Sorry, I'm after losing my train of thought.
I'm sorry. I'll monologue the whole time, man. I really will.
No, you're all right. You come back to me again.
Okay, so that's that. Him mentioning that idea and then discussing it kind of made me think of another question. Since this is an incremental repeg, and you suggest in your proposal, that's like once we achieve a certain value bracket, so we're at the 0.02 range right now, anywhere from 0.021 to 0.023. Let's say it flies up to 5 cents, 10 cents, whatever. The number doesn't matter. How long do we need to be there for you to be like, all right, the new peg should be 10 cents? And do you think that it should be implemented with those like arbitrary price levels to help people, emotionally and intellectually agree with the peg, instead of doing 0.0725, okay, that's the new peg? Would you just be like, all right, let's do 5 cents or 10 cents because it has that emotional and that cognitive backing, I guess you could say, of a round number? And how long would it need to be there for you to be like, all right, let's do it?
So what I was going to do is I was going to have it that if the market price for every cent level, say, so if it was at 5 cents and the protocol was at 3 cents, but it stayed above 5 cents for 48 hours, the protocol would automatically set the peg to 1 cent below the market price, so it would automatically move to 4 cents after 48 hours. So that's what I'm saying. So the protocol would chase up the price. So if the price stayed at a certain point for 48 hours, the protocol would automatically move to the cent value, rounded to the nearest cent value below that.
Okay, so it is going to be cent per cent then. So 6 cents, 7 cents, 8 cents.
Yeah, that's what I think for simplicity and easy use, it's easier to just go that way with it. I think the initial peg might be 2.5 cents, whatever it is, but from then we'll just go at cent values after that.
Okay, go on.
Now that we're speaking of this, I remember what I was thinking about before. So if you look at the figures I did, right, they're done on like the difference between, like, they're done at 0.025 levels, right? But say if we're at 5 cents, then you can double the profit that we've brought in. At 10 cents, you can 4 times the profit we've brought in. Do you know what I mean? The higher up the price is, the more this protocol makes in the DPEG scenario.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? So, like, if we're at 5 cents and we trade at that for 6 months, you could double the values I have here.
Yeah, and the incremental peg only adds to the further speculation of the protocol working, and like once you see the peg start to move up, it moved up 3 cents. Oh my God, now it's 5 cents. Holy shit, now it's 10 cents above where it started. That only breeds more speculation and more confidence in the idea, especially when you see those sell-offs happen, but then due to the capital controls, it moves back there instead of keep going down. No, I can definitely, there definitely is a psychological aspect to this that will help achieve peg. And with what you've worked out, I can definitely see that kind of fermenting and really lighting a fire under the speculative emotional aspect, and how your protocol plays almost directly into that, to help it achieve peg. Very interesting. Very interesting. And you said 48 hours? Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think it's something that's been done in the crypto space before. Like as crypto, if you look at a lot of them, they tend to be glorified Ponzi's, a lot of them. None of them have real capital controls over their money, whereas this is us putting a proper capital control over our money. So what SBF did before, that couldn't happen again. Do you know what I mean? If you are going to move enough liquidity that is going to change the market, then you'll get punished for doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're going to dump, $10 million when it's 15% below the peg, I mean, you have that incentive to be like, maybe I should wait. I've already taken a 15% loss. I'd be adding another 15% loss on top of that, essentially equating to, if I'm understanding this correct, a 30% loss, because it's what your funds are worth at that time, and what they were worth at $1. I mean, 30% loss is a pretty big, reason to chill out for a second and maybe see if it goes back to peg. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And while you're chilling out waiting, you can save your money in the savings protocol and actually make more money while you wait. Somebody else can pay for those rewards for you.
Exactly.
It's basically, we're targeting the tax. Like at the moment, if you look, we're all evenly paying the tax on chain. Everybody's paying it. The good actors, the bad actors, everybody. Whereas if we have this, it only targets essentially the bad actors or people who sell below peg. So yeah, there might be a few people who have to take their money out and they're going to get penalised, but the majority of us don't have to take our money out. Do you know what I mean? So it's really penalising those that are attacking our peg.
Yeah. You almost, in a sense, want people to kind of either attack it or lose faith at some point in time, because that actually helps the peg, Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, here's another question. So because this won't only be on chain, so it's not just going to be Luna Classic ecosystem, coins and tokens interacting with the tax mechanism, and it will utilize centralized exchanges that have their own trading pairs, so I'm assuming the tax will also tax some of that. Let's say there's a Luna Classic Bitcoin trading pair, and do we acquire some Bitcoin? And if we do, what do we do with that? Do we sell it off to, acquire UST for more backing, or Luna Classic or whatever? Or do we hold that in some type of reserve and we have a plethora of different assets backing the peg?
It's going to be that the second one, that we've the plethora of different assets backing the peg. So whatever trading pair you see USTC is trading against, you will accumulate the opposing pair in the tax. You will always accumulate the more desirable asset at the time. So that means that we'll have like an index of different tokens backing our currency. So it's much safer as well than having just one or two tokens backing. We'll have a full basket of currencies backing USTC.
Okay. So would that involve the need for some type of banking protocol and wallet interface at the layer 1 level to hold these coins and tokens? Like, where are they then stored? Where,
Yeah, so
where
that's
do,
what I should discuss between the L1 team and the CX team, whether the buybacks will be held on the CXs. Because, so say if you're accumulating BTC as the trading pair, like you will be fighting that peg with BTC, if you understand. Do you know what I
uh-huh.
mean? So you're using that asset again. So more than likely, those tokens will be held on the exchanges where they're trading against. But it's still collateralized. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's on chain or off chain, it's still backing our tokens, and we
Yeah,
need to have a mechanism to back our tokens both on and off chain, because before we had LFG and we don't have that anymore. So we have to have something that will fight on and off chain.
okay. Okay, and in this case, we don't need LFG anymore because the capital controls are done at the protocol level. We aren't required to trust or rely on someone to action their capital controls in a timely manner if a DPEG were to happen, because it just actions automatically.
Yeah, so before they were all mechanical, like a person had to do it, you know. So if everybody was asleep in a deep egg, it might be the morning before they bought back. Whereas this would be all automatic, so it'd be instantaneous. We wouldn't have to wait for somebody. The protocol would do it immediately on the transaction.
Exactly. And for those of you who are listening that aren't aware, the LFG was the Luna Foundation Guard, and they were I don't know, they're kind of gray. They were a TFL organization, third party organization that was there to ensure the constant peg and peg efforts from a capital control perspective, where they would sell off um, the assets they had to back the peg in order to buy it back and re-achieve peg, which didn't work too great for them a year ago. And there was even reports that a lot of those LFG funds were actually siphoned off. So, but that's getting into speculation. Nothing's proven yet. So yeah, yeah. I mean, the more we talk about it, the more it makes sense. So I guess kind of going a little bit deeper into, and I know you said it'll involve discussing with L1 devs, which is why I wish we had one up here. I'm trying to think about how we would hold those on-chain assets, how the protocol can be adapted to hold coins and or tokens from different blockchains, at the protocol level, because I don't think anyone wants to see an individual or a group of individuals, regardless of who that is, to have access to that. So it would have to be some type of banking or smart contract that is capable of either holding like Bitcoin itself or wrapped Bitcoin, or wrapped, I guess with Cosmos, it doesn't have to be wrapped, but, or, a token derivative of the base asset. So there's definitely still a lot to be fleshed out in the actual mechanics of it, but I think the idea is there personally. So yeah. I wonder how that will work. I could see it being wrapped tokens inside of a banking contract that no one has access to. And
Yeah,
I'm not
it'll have to be that the only way of accessing those funds is via governance. Like, I won't push forward. That'll be something that I will have to happen. Otherwise, I won't push forward. It'll either be governance or nothing.
exactly. If someone's like, well, let these 10 individuals do it, they're trusted. No. Let's make it a smart contract, because that's what blockchain's about. It's about not having to trust people. It's about having to, it's about building a trustless system where code, at least mostly, is law and it's verifiable and what's going to happen. You're not relying on someone to do their or execute their job properly. It's going to execute properly every time because it's code. So anybody else, if you have any questions or you just have comments, you're more than welcome to come up here. Billy, I seen you join the audience. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. There we go. No, not that one. There we go. Just feel free, Billy, whenever you're ready, sir.
Rock and roll. What's going on, everybody?
How's it going,
Yes.
brother? Hold on. I'm sorry. I forgot. I forgot to do this. You should have said something, Kay. We wanted people when they come up to speak to tell us their favorite cup of coffee. What's your favorite cup of coffee,
Okay,
Billy?
at the moment, it's a grande cafe mocha. Or no,
Okay.
forget that. No, espresso, triple shot espresso.
Just straight triple shot espresso,
Triple
huh?
shot espresso with a sugar.
Woo!
Yeah, and a cannoli. Yeah,
Spicy and a cannoli.
that's right.
And a cannoli. Oof.
That's right.
Oof. Are you sure you're not Mishabor from the Dogecoin community? Never mind. Okay. He's always talking about cannolis. Okay. Mine, for anyone who's listening and who cares, my favorite coffee type drink is a chai tea latte. They're just delicious.
Nice.
You can hate on me. They're amazing.
Try
Triple
it.
shot as well. Extra dirty. Okay, Billy, go ahead and ask your question or make your comment, good sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up the NDAX. If anything more was heard about the NDAX IO delisting.
Okay. No, I hadn't seen any more about it. That was a community member on the Discord server that brought that up last night. It was an email he received personally. And then, I took that information and
Well, it's funny because I'm a member with NDAX. I never received an email. I can say that. Do you know what day he received it?
I'm assuming they're kind of rolling them out right now because I had someone comment on that post, and of course, it's an anonymous person on the internet, but they said can confirm I use NDAX.
Yeah, I did too. Like I'm in Toronto, and it's Canada's biggest exchange, really.
Okay.
That's what's kind of quite alarming. Their excuses here is maintenance cost. Okay, here are a few reasons for the delisting. Maintenance costs versus usage, unreliable public node infrastructure, non-central governance leading to sporadic, uncoordinated decision-making regarding upcoming upgrades and changes. And then the last one, it's incomplete sentence, but...
Yeah, inordinately frequent modifications, and I'm going to assume it ends with to the core protocol,
right.
Which makes them have to jump through hoops and update their own nodes and wallets and what have you.
Right.
I mean, beyond this report, and that's why I called it a report in my tweet about it and not a confirmed.
Exactly. This is nothing confirmed. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a single exchange doing it is not the death of Lunk. I mean, we've seen it before. We'll probably see it again. But I think it can be a message for people to do things in a more professional and equitable manner.
Together. Yeah. Yeah, smarten up.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to spread FUD at all,
No, plan, not at all. No.
It's just like, come on, guys, let's.
How is this FUD? It's true. Like NDAX, it's a Canadian exchange. You have all these people. It's like, I never even heard of this. What is this? But I'm telling you guys, it's Canada's like #1 exchange.
Yeah, probably next to Kraken, right?
Right?
Yeah, so, if that's true, I went to their website last night, but it's not they don't have a news feed or an update feed, so I couldn't find any confirmation myself.
They don't. Yeah, they keep quiet, but you see, like, they pick and choose their coins. They pick and choose the good coins. If you look at all the coins that are listed, they're going somewhere.
Well, actually, there was a confirmation because on their Twitter, they released it 16 hours ago. Announcement: NDAX will be delisting Luna Classic from our trading platform.
This is on Twitter, on their Twitter account.
Yeah, they announced it 16 hours ago.
It's official.
Effective April 21st, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. So that's within the next week and a half or so.
I'm looking at it right now, 16 hours ago. Here, it's in the. Oh, you can't even put it in the nest.
I don't know how to do things in the nest, bro. I don't know how to do it.
Okay, the share button. You see where on the bottom of the tweet you got the message, the retweet, the love, right at the end on the right side is a share button, like an arrow pointing upwards. You click on it, and then right at the top it says your space, Clay and Kay's Coffee Corner, and you click that and share tweet.
Okay, cool. See, I thought it was boom. Oh, well, that's nifty. Look at us. We're professionals now.
That's right.
We're learning together, people, and that's how we do that. Yeah, so that is confirmed. Index will be yeah, they will be delisting Lunk, and I don't think that's a huge detriment to the chain in its current form. But I mean, if we start seeing more of that, then it will be an issue.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And we definitely, for the reasons they listed, or they're not reasons that we can't improve on, because something I've seen when it comes to core protocol releases is that there is no good, informative write-up on it. Like, this is what we're changing. This is why we're changing it. This is what you need to do as a user to update your node infrastructure and your wallets so you can continue interacting with the chain, which is how this needs to be done. So we're not chasing down layer 2 projects and exchanges for a month and a half, and walking them through the updates. There needs to be a good write-up on every single one, like every other chain does.
Do it right the first time.
Exactly.
What? Fuck.
No, hey man, I've been kind of pushing that for a while now. I actually, I messaged Ed a few weeks ago about that when we did the last upgrade, because TR has played a large role in helping exchanges and other layer 2s kind of update, whatever it is they need to update. And it's to be completely honest, it's a shit show every time. Even when TR was doing updates, it was a complete shit show every time.
It is. Everybody's trying to trump each other. Everybody's trying to look like the savior.
Yeah. So
but if we work together instead of competing with each other, we'd probably achieve 10 times more. That's what I don't get.
10 times
Everyone
over,
here is to fight with each other, but if we actually work together, we'd actually achieve something.
And I said that to you the other night, Billy, when we were chatting. It's just like we're fighting other coins. There's thousands of coins out there. Layer 1s and layer 2s. Most people don't know the difference between a layer 1 and a layer 2, so they don't care. They're just buying into things because they hope it goes to the moon. And so we're fighting with every other protocol in existence. We're fighting the SEC and their over-regulatory nature. I guess now we're fighting exchanges so they don't delist us. We do not need to be fighting each other. And it's okay to have disagreements. It's okay to debate things, and it's okay to not like each other. That's fine. But this weekly roundabout nonsense, slandering and name calling and accusing people of this and
who did this and that.
Yeah. And this isn't just coming from people in the community. These are coming from the leaders, quote unquote, of the chain. And exchanges see that, outside investors see that, institutions see that, and they're like, why the hell would I ever want to get involved in that?
Yeah.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, there are bad actors out there that do it purposely for that reason, because they want to see the chain fail. Either they're salty because it failed, so they hate it. They're salty against someone that's involved with it still, and they sold their coins 8 months ago, so they just talk shit nonstop.
Or they lost crash. Yeah.
Yeah. Or they have a vested interest in V2, and they want to see V2 succeed. And the more they FUD and make Lunk crash, the higher the chances are of V2 succeeding.
And that's where I say it was kind of disgusting. We had guys, Luna Classic, and then all of a sudden, I just sold all my bags of Luna Classic, Luna V2, Lord Dokwan. Holy shit, all in our Luna Classic spaces. So what kind of a slap to the face is that?
It's not. It's, and I've seen a few different members now, scrolling Discord messages and screenshots and Twitter, and it's just like, they openly say, I sold all my bags 6 months ago. I don't even hold Lunk, but you also see them on Twitter every day bashing and hating and
Exactly.
spreading toxicity. And it's
I
just
see the
like,
same. Yeah.
it's just like, why are you here, bro?
Yeah.
Why are you here? Like, and if you do not have a stake in your Lunk, if your Lunk is not staked on chain, I don't care if you're holding on an exchange. You could hold 10 million Lunk on an exchange. Okay, I don't care. If you are not staked on the core protocol, your opinion does not matter. What you have to say on Twitter does not matter. What you have to say in Discord servers is completely irrelevant and unweighted. You don't have a voice unless you're staked on chain.
Amen.
Because that is what governance is for. Things are not decided on Twitter. Things are not decided in heated debates on Discord. Things are decided on the core protocol at the governance level. Okay, so people need to quit listening to people on Twitter. They need to quit running their mouths and let the governance protocol decide things. I'm sorry, I got a little heated there.
Clan, you're speaking on Twitter.
It's called passion, baby.
I know I'm speaking on Twitter. That's great. People are allowed to speak on Twitter. It's up to people to not listen to the people speaking on Twitter if you agree with them or not, or if they're. I mean, you can't host a Twitter poll and be like, "This is what the community wants," because there's no telling if those people are even staked on chain, and if they're not staked on chain, your opinion does not matter. You know, and even to a further extent, you know, with the people you see saying, I don't even hold Lunk, but I'm going to have all these opinions about it. Your opinion matters even less than the dude who's holding on Binance. You know, it's an interesting space we find ourselves in, people. It really is. It's definitely the most interesting Web3 space I have ever been involved in, and I've been involved in a few. Lunk attracts the most brightest and the greatest, most kind-hearted individuals in the world to it. And it also attracts the scum, lowest dredges of the earth. And that's simply a fact because a year ago, I would say, you know, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people YOLO'd and degened into it. And that attracted a lot of people who now have things to say. So yeah. Interesting stuff.
I was just giving you shit.
No, I know. That's one thing I feel very strongly about the whole, you know, people that aren't even staked thinking they have an opinion. I'm sorry, but you do not have an opinion.
Lunk to $1, Luna Classic to $1.
Yeah, Luna Classic to $1, so I can dump on you the second it hits 25 cents. I'm not even going to make it to $1. You know, I'm going to dump on you way before that. You know, and these people that have these opinions, and they're not, people stake on chain because they believe in the chain, they believe in the long-term viability of the chain and the prospects for it, you know, so their opinions matter more because they're thinking, how does this work for me long term? And the person holding on an exchange with 5, 10, 20 million Lunk, they're not thinking long term. They're thinking, how do I get this coin to pump so I can dump it and make a profit? Now, granted, we're all here to make a profit, but you probably want to listen to the opinions of people that have long-term vested interests, you know, instead of the dude who bought 10 million yesterday, or he shorted yesterday, you know, and now he's spreading FUD. Yeah.
Well, if we can get this Repeg proposal going, they can dump all they want, right?
Yeah, buy more UST now, dump it later, guys. That's fine. You'll help the Repeg from my understanding of it, and if it all works correctly. Which is what we were talking about, Billy, before you came in here and disrupted everything. I'm just kidding.
Bad boy Billy.
We were talking about Redline's Repeg proposal, asking questions about it, going over it. Really wish you could have been here for that because I know you only jumped in recently.
Yeah.
I think we had a really good conversation about it. Have you read the Repeg proposal?
I haven't. No.
You haven't? You need to. It's good. Awesome. And I'll actually, since
what's the number?
Hold on,
Never mind. I'll find it.
No, I'll go share it right now since I'm a skilled Twitter Spaces user now, and I know how to do that. But even though I may not have pressed record, so share. So that's up in the nest now for anyone who has not gone and found it yet. Just click on that tweet. The link is in there. Sorry, I always have something to say about stuff, so my tweets are long. So yeah. Definitely suggest people read that. Get a good understanding of it. Read it, reread it. If you have questions, go back and listen to this. I hope we covered whatever your questions were. If you have a question that wasn't covered or you just have some insight, Redline has always been really willing to talk with people. So hop in the Discord server. He's also super active on Twitter. Well, not super active. You're active enough, Redline. And drop him your insight or your question, and I don't doubt from what I've seen that he'll be happy to answer you once you have the time. So
yeah, don't just vote on this because you see USTC Repeg and YOLO into it. Like, it's important that you read this and understand it. And if you don't understand it and you have any questions about it, either post it up in the Agora or in one of the Discord servers or on Twitter, and I'll try to get back to you about it.
Yes, and I agree with that. Not only for this proposal specifically, but as a general rule of thumb, to not use a now controversial, statement.
Well, I could say one thing positive already about it. I see the word incremental. So, yeah. When you see something like that, it's going to get done right. It's not done all in one shot.
Yeah, I would say that, the idea behind the incremental peg is definitely a huge winning factor for me, because it's more achievable. And that's what we need to do on chain and in real life. We need to create long-term goals, which is $1 repeg. But as we're working towards those long-term goals, we need to have smaller, achievable, and obtainable goals working towards those long-term goals. Which is the incremental peg. We can achieve 3 cents. We can achieve 4 cents. Getting from 2 cents to $1, that's a big undertaking. That's daunting. Getting from 2.5 cents to 0.025 cents to 3 cents, and then from 3 cents to 4 cents, that's much more obtainable. It's definitely it's visual and it's actionable. So yeah. I guess I'll put a call out for any more questions. Please don't hesitate to ask your questions as we have Redline here. He's more than happy to answer them. So if you have anything, statements, insights, love letters, then be sure to get them out there now. So anyone going and listening back can possibly have their questions answered before using up some of Redline's time. No one? Don't be scared now. We're pretty approachable people.
Yeah, I won't bite you.
Yeah, Redline might. I won't. No one? No one at all? Okay. Well, unless anyone has any questions, statements, or comments, or anything they would like to go over more before we close this out, Billy, anyone else, anything we've covered today, or just anything having to do with Lunk, or maybe you need a shoulder to cry on, we're here for that. So raise your hand real quick, and if not, we're probably gonna give this an end, and hopefully we'll be capable of publishing a recording of it. That still remains to be seen. Anyone? Going once? Going twice? Okay, you got something?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out and having coffee with us in our space. And then also, Redline Drifter, thank you for taking the time to come and share with us your thoughts and your proposal and answering any questions that had been proposed to you.
Thanks for having me.
Definitely. Super appreciative of you, Redline. Thank you for coming and giving not only myself and Kay and everyone here at the time, but the wider Lunk community to go over in, depth your your proposal and being open to discussing it. And thank you everyone who joined us. I really appreciate that. I hope we were capable of putting on a good show for you. I hope we were capable of digging into Redline's prop for you. And we definitely welcome any feedback from any of you about what you would like to see from what Kay and I are doing here moving forward. Like I said, we really want Clan and Kay's Coffee Corner to just be that chill space where we can discuss things without bashing or hating each other, regardless of if we agree with each other or not. Because disagreements and debate, it builds growth, and that's what we need. We need growth in the blockchain, and we need growth in the community, and we hope to, help facilitate that moving forward. So once again, guys, I really appreciate you joining us for Clan and K's Coffee Corner episode 2. You can expect to see us again here next week on Saturday, and we'll just keep moving forward with what's going on in Lunk on a weekly basis. So with that, we're going to close it out and hope to see you guys next week. Take it easy.